Assalamu alaikum. Myself Ahkam Ansari. Student, I am back again with yet another video lecture of information technology. We have started our first chapter, that is advanced web designing, in which we have already learned cascading style sheet. Now in this particular video lecture, I will be talking about some new feature or new topic in CSS, that is ID, class and universal selector. Okay, ID and class, these are the two attributes used in CSS which are the very important. Okay, so ID is work as an attribute in CSS and class is also work as an attribute in CSS. So by using ID attribute and class attribute, we will apply our CSS. Okay, so let's have a look what is mean by ID and what is mean by class. Then we will move to our practical part. So let's have a definition of ID and class. So just read it. In class, in CSS, okay, class and ID selectors. Why I'm using the word selector? Because you can apply CSS by using selectors. Okay, selectors are nothing but your HTML elements or HTML tags. You can directly write HTML elements or HTML tag, or we have some other way to apply CSS, that is we can apply by using class and ID. So what is the class and ID? Class and ID are nothing but an attribute of HTML tag. By using that attribute you can apply your CSS. So if you are using ID and class, you know you are not required to use HTML elements. That's why here ID and class work as a selector, work as a HTML elements. Okay, so class and ID are the attributes of HTML, okay, which are used for applying CSS. Just for time being, just try to understand class and ID. These are two different attributes of HTML which we can use in any of the HTML. Okay, why? Because by using these attributes we can apply CSS on that particular HTML elements. Okay, so just read it. In CSS, class and ID selectors are used to identify various HTML elements. Okay, so instead of using directly HTML elements, we will use ID and class attribute. For example, we have HTML tag called h1. So h1 is an HTML tag. So if you want to apply any CSS on h1 or h2 or p tag or a tag, so instead of using the name of HTML, we can use an attribute that is a class or ID. So there is a big difference in class and ID. We will see what is the difference when we use class and when we use ID selector or attribute. Okay, but for time being, just try to understand ID and class are the two attributes which we can apply in any HTML element. Okay, then the main benefit of setting class or ID is that you can present the same HTML element differently depending on its class or ID. Okay, what is mean by that? Means, for example, if you have h1 elements more than one time, okay, you have h1 element, you can use h1 element multiple time, yes or no? Yes, you can use h1 element more than one time. But if you use h1 elements as a selector, means if you use HTML element, that's a h1 element as a selector, so you will apply same CSS on all the h1 tag which you use. So if you want to use only at one h1 element, but if you have more than one h1, so in that case you have to use ID. I just want to say one example. If you have a class of 50 students and you are going to say please do this thing, so all student will do. If I ask any question, okay, if I ask any question in a class, for example, if I ask a question, what is the capital of India? So I am asking this question to the whole class, so it will applicable to whole class student. Okay, the class of 50 students, so 50 student can answer. But if I ask the question, what is the capital of India? Please tell me roll number 5. So now here I am identified by the roll number. So the roll number is the ID of a particular student. Now the question is only for that particular student. Okay, so in the same way, if you want to apply a CSS uniquely, in that case you have to use ID. In the same way, if you want to apply your CSS in a group of people or in a group of HTML, in that case you can use by class attribute or class selector. Okay, means uniquely, if you want to identify uniquely, you have to use ID. If you want to apply in a group, you have to use class attribute. Okay, don't worry if you are not getting anything right now. Once I will start practical or coding, you will get clear picture what is ID and what is class. Just for time being, just try to understand ID and class both are work as an attribute in HTML. That attribute can be used in any of the HTML elements. Okay, any of the HTML elements you can use, and you can apply CSS by using class and ID. Okay, now there is some more information regarding class and ID. Means if you are going to use ID, what you have to write, what you have to use, and in the same way if you are going to use class, what you have to write or what you have to use. So for class, okay, for grouping of this selector, for class you have to use dot symbol. Okay, see there, white color, you have to use dot symbol, you have to use for class attribute. Okay, in CSS, if you are going to apply CSS in any of the HTML element in which you have used class attribute, so in CSS you have to use dot symbol. Okay, then you have to, after that you have to write the name of the class value. In the same way, if you are going to use ID attribute as an selector, so in CSS you have to use hash symbol. Okay, if you are using ID you have to use hash symbol, and if you are using class you have to use dot symbol. Clear? Now for time being, just try to understand, we have two attribute of HTML tag, of any HTML tag. One is class and one is ID. Class is used for grouping of multiple HTML elements, and ID is used for uniquely identified. Okay, if you have 4 times P, if you want to apply only one P, so in that case you can use ID selector. Okay, I just want to move to coding part so you will get what I am trying to explain you. So I am going to my desktop, I will type notepad. Okay, this is my notepad and I will start coding. So the first thing is that I will start writing doc type HTML, because I am writing inside the HTML5. Then my first tag will be HTML and my last tag will be closing HTML. Between these two tags I will add all the other tag, that is a head tag and closing head tag. I am writing opening and closing tag at the same time. It is good practice to write opening and closing tag at the same time. Then I am writing body tag and closing body tag. These are the some basic HTML tag which is compulsory, which is required to create any HTML page. And this line shows that you are writing HTML5 coding. Okay. Now inside that sometime you can add title tag, but it's up to you. If you want to add, you can add, but if you don't want, leave it. Now I am going to add something, means I am going to create simple HTML page, then I will apply CSS on that. So I am going to take one H1 tag, that is H1 and closing H1, in which I can write any contents. For example, I am going to write use of ID and class. Okay, now if I click on file, click on save, so I can save. Currently it's saving on desktop, don't worry, I am going to save on desktop only. So for example, my file name is class id dot html. Okay, class id.html, and I am going to click on save. So you will notice that on desktop you will get class id, this file we have just created. So this is my output, use of id and class. Okay, now it's a simple HTML. I have to add something more. Okay, now I am going to add one more h1. I just want to copy it and control V. Here I am going to write use of id. Okay, I have written use of id, and after that I am going to use paragraph tag. Then I am going to use paragraph tag closing. Inside that I have to write some description about id. So id selector is used to select unique element. Okay, and one more thing I can add. For example, I am going to copy and control V, paste. Now I am going to id selector in id I can use hash. Okay, so hash symbol is used for id selector. Okay, I have added two lines, one is the 2p and one h1. Let me save the file. Save. Okay, flip back to your browser. Now check your output. So we have added these two things, use of id and class. Use of id, these are h1 and these are two paragraph tag. Let me zoom it. Okay, now in the same way I am going to add same thing, control C. I am going to copy it. I just want to copy because I just want to save your time, because these are nothing but extra word. So h1 use of id, instead of id I will write class. Okay, now class selector, instead of id I will write class selector is used to select multiple elements of same class. Okay, multiple elements means what? You can have h1p paragraph tag, h2 tag, but you can assign same class, so it will considered as of same class. Then for class we have to use dot symbol. Okay, dot symbol you have to use. Okay, dot symbol you have to use for class selector. Okay, let me save this file. Now refresh it. Okay, zoom out. Okay, so we have added two h2 tag here and one h1 tag and one h1 tag here. Then we have used paragraph tag and paragraph tag. Okay, now it's a simple HTML page we have just created. Okay student, till now I think you don't have any issue. We have just created a simple HTML page in which we have added h1 two times, three times h1, this h1, these are the h1's tag. Then we have taken p tag 4 times. Okay, but the content is different. Now I am going to apply CSS. First I will simply apply, then I will show you what is the use of h1. For example, I want to change the color of this, the first h1. Okay, I want to change the color of the first h1. There is a use of id and class. So you know how I will apply CSS. I will simply write h1, then opening curly brackets, closing curly brackets. Inside that I will apply properties and value. So I will apply background color property, background color colon, for example background is red. Okay, so when I save the file, and let me add one more, text color also I want to change, so I will write color colon, it's a red, I will write blue. Okay, semicolon. So I have applied, student please see, I have applied H1. Okay, H1, I want to change the background color of this H1. Okay, background color of this H1 where my content is use of ID and class. So I want to change the background color to red and text color to blue. Okay, this is the simple CSS I have applied. See the output. Okay, what is my expected output? My H1 tag or the content of H1 must be changed to red and background color, text color will be blue. This is my expected output. But when you save the file, when you back to your browser, when you refresh, now you are expecting the color of this H1 to be changed, but see the result. When you refresh the file, I think there is something wrong. What happened? Okay, very good. So I have not write a style tag. I am going to apply a style, so I have to use a style tag. Sorry for that. So write a style tag because you are applying CSS. So you have to write a style tag. Flip back to your result and refresh it. Okay. Now see. Your expected result was the color of this use of ID and class to be changed, but it is applied on this H1 and this H1 too. You have used H1 3 times. Okay, you have used H1C encoding. Sorry, yeah, you have used H1 here. Okay, here also you have used H1, and at the same time you have used H1 here. Now you have used H1 3 times, but here you have written H1 only, so it will search all H1. Okay, but your objective is to change the background color of only this H1. Okay, student, means it is like that you are asking a question, but the whole class is answering, means all the H1 is responding. You have written H1 and you have applied some CSS, so it is applied on all the H1. Okay, but your intention is, your objective is to apply only on this H1, means you are asking a question not to class but to a single student. So if you ask a question in a class, so the answer is open for all the students. That's why you have to use ID or roll number of a particular student. So you have to assign some ID to this element. So I will write ID equal to, here ID is working as a attribute. ID equal to, you can assign any ID, for example first, or for example account, or for example anything. Okay, so its ID is anything. So simply just you have to write here anything. Okay, you have write ID equal to anything, but if you remember, ID is written by using a symbol called hash symbol. So you have to put hash symbol. Just flip back to your PowerPoint, so you will get how ID can be written. So ID selection can be written by using hash symbol. So you have to prefix hash symbol before your ID value. What happened? Okay, so this is your ID. Anything is ID, means ID means you have written some value. So this is your value. So you have to write this value over here, and before that you have to prefix hash symbol. Now this property will apply only on the h1 which id is anything. Okay, now it will apply only on use of this content. So click on save. Now flip back to your browser. Okay, when you refresh, the rest of will disappear, means CSS will not apply on these two h1. It will only apply on this one, because now you have applied by using id. So see, now it is on only this one. So you can, if you change color, for example you have written blue, instead of blue if you write yellow, save the file, flip back to your browser, now refresh. Now use of id and class, means right now you have three h1, again this h1 and this h1, but you are now uniquely applying your CSS on a particular h1 tag. Okay, in the same way you have a p tag. Okay, you have a p tag. Now if I copied it to save the time and paste it, and if I write paragraph tag over here, so I have written p tag and my background color is black and my text color is, for example, yellow. Let it be. When I save the file, now you will notice that these are the paragraph tag. This is the p tag, this is the p tag, and these 4 lines are come under the paragraph tag. So I have applied only on p tag. Now you will see the effect will be applied on all the p tag. Okay, now all the paragraph tag has been changed, or the CSS has been applied on all the paragraph tag. The background of paragraph is changed to black and the text color is yellow. Okay, so for example, if you want to apply your this CSS on a particular paragraph tag, for example, if you want to apply on the last one, okay, on last one, this is the, for example, if you want to apply on this, so simply just go in that paragraph tag and add an attribute called id equals to, for example, you can write anything, as I told you, id equal to account. So instead of p, now you write account as a id, and before your id you have to put hash symbol. Okay, because this symbol denote that this is the id. So save it. I will click on Ctrl S. Okay, now it will search whose attribute id is account. So it will search one by one, then it will comes to this paragraph tag and it will find that the id of this paragraph tag is account, and it will apply this property. So if I change to red, okay, now this CSS will apply only on the last paragraph tag. Okay, flip back to your browser. Now this, it will apply on this paragraph tag. See the change. Now see, rest all become non applicable, but the last one is changed. Why? Because I have used id. I think you are now getting what I am trying to explain you, what is id and class. So right now we have seen what is id. Now see what is class. Class and id both are similar, but class is used for grouping of selector. Means you can assign same class to multiple HTML tag. Okay, for example, I want to add in the same example, means you have paragraph tag. Okay, you have h1 tag. For example, instead of id, now I am going to add class. Okay, so I have written class equals to, for example, abc. Okay, class equal to abc. Then I have one more paragraph, this one. I am going to assign one more class equal to ABC. Okay, and one more, for example, I want to change this to H2, and I want to change to this one too. Please student, please pay attention. H2, again I am going to add class equals to ABC. Now student, listen, we have three different HTML elements. The first one is H1, okay, which comes or inside the ABC class. Okay, H1 tag, this H1 tag is belongs to ABC class. In the same way, H2 tag I have written. Okay, again this class is also belongs to ABC class. In the same way, the paragraph tag, okay, again the paragraph tag I can assign the class, this paragraph tag, sorry, this paragraph tag is also belongs to ABC class. Means H1 is different element, H2 is different element, and P is different element, but the class is same. So class is an attribute which is used to combine or which is used to group different HTML element into one. Means ABC is a unique class which have multiple HTML elements. Okay, so if you want to apply CSS by using a class, simply I am going to apply on a class. So my class name is ABC. Okay, so how to write class? Before class you have to put dot symbol. Before class, like in ID you have to put hash symbol, in the same way before class you have to write dot symbol. So I have written dot ABC. So background color, I am going to change to background color green. Okay, background color green, and color I am going to change to blue. Okay, now this property or this CSS will be applicable on all those elements which class is ABC. Now see, the first H1 class is ABC, second H1 is not belongs to any class, so it will not apply on this one. In the same way, we have four paragraph tag, but this will apply on the third one, that is this paragraph tag belongs to ABC class. In the same way, we have only one H2 tag which comes under the category of ABC class, so it will apply on this one H2 tag and this paragraph tag and this H1 tag. Let me save the file. I will click on save, then flip back to browser. Now refresh the file. See, now it is applied on the H1 tag and H2 tag and this paragraph tag. Okay, these are the paragraph tag, but it is not applied on these. Okay, so in class you can group different HTML, okay, different HTML elements, and in ID you can identify unique HTML elements. Okay, so ID attribute is used for unique and class attribute used for grouping of multiple HTML elements, but the difference is that ID is used with hash symbol and class is used with dot symbol. Getting, student? Now we are moving towards our last point of this lecture, that is our universal selector. Okay, our universal selector. What is universal selector? Universal selector means you can denote by using asterisk symbol, that is a star symbol. Means if you want to apply a simple or any CSS to the all the HTML elements which consist in your HTML page, it will apply the CSS. Okay, simply asterisk or universal selector means all, means irrespective of name, class, whatever, it will apply on all. Let's have a look. Okay, now if you move, okay, I just want to delete this one, and instead of applying any of the CSS, if I write only star symbol, so star symbol means what? It will apply this CSS, that is the background color will be black and the text color will be red of all the HTML tags, whatever tag you have, even it will apply on body tag. Okay, so the background color of body will be black, and the text color of all the HTML content, irrespective of paragraph tag, H2 tag, H1 tag, it will apply on color as a red and background color as a black. So this symbol is called as a universal selector. Okay, the asterisk symbol is used for universal selector. Okay, let me save the file, then I will show the result. Flip back to your browser. Now you can see there's a difference. The background color of this H1 is green and the background color of this H1 is white, and the paragraph tag means white, then again there is green, and the background color of this is black. So but you have applied universal selector, now all the content will be unique, means the background color of all the HTML tag will be same as we have mentioned in your CSS. Refresh the file. Now you can notice that the background color of your page is black and the text color is red. Why? Because you have written inside your CSS that background color is black and color is red, and before that you have mentioned this symbol, this is star or asterisk. This symbol is called as a universal selector, means it will select all the HTML element present in your page. So it will apply this CSS on all the HTML elements. Okay, this is called as a universal selector. Hope you understood what we have learned today. Student, if you have any query in this topic, this is very interesting topic. If you have any question, any problem, please feel free to comment, ask your query. Okay, inshallah I will try to answer you. For time being, I just want to stop my lecture. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.